BI or Die, the podcast by Reporting Impulse about analytics, dashboards, and business intelligence.
Hello everyone, it's me and Viktoria again with another episode of our podcast BI or Die. We're very happy to say that we just checked it a few minutes ago. We achieved over 19,000 subscribers for our podcast. So that's a great community and we're very grateful for that. And also for our guests, also like our guest today, he's taking a lot of time for us, for all of us. He's recording a podcast. It's around 9:30 p.m. So it's definitely not a given that he's still here with us with all the joy, all of the enthusiasm, all the child talk, whatever what we had before in our pre-talk. We're really enjoying that. And that's also a great motivation for my co-host Viktoria and for me to record this podcast, to prepare these sessions. And in this sense, also, hello, Viktoria. What do you feel about that, about interviewing our guest today?
Hello, great, and I loved our little talk before, and I hope that continues like this now, and you enjoy you as listeners enjoy the talk as much as we already did.
Definitely. I mean, a little pre-talk. So now we need to say who is actually there. Our guest today is better known as the TM1 Fanboy, or I also found that the voice of the TM1 community. So, and also additionally, another quite cool thing, he works for one of the largest organizations using this technology. So, welcome, Christoph Hein, that you be with us. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me here. I'm looking forward to an interesting conversation with you guys.
Yeah, we do our best. So already said TM1 Fanboy. So what characterizes a TM1 Fanboy? Do you sleep in TM1 bedding sheets every night, or what is that?
I haven't found them so far.
I
haven't found those so far. If one of you listeners knows where I can get those, I will definitely try them out. What defines a TM1 fanboy? As you know, the term fanboy defines someone who is really into a certain kind of technology or software, hardware, etc. And I'm really into TM1. The TM1 database, the nowadays better known as Planning Analytics with Watson, has been around for a couple of decades now, and it's still growing strong, and it's an awesome technology to do business intelligence. And I fell in love with it 10 years ago, and I'm still in love with it. And I think it's a great piece of technology, and all the people I know who work with TM1, they love it, and it's just really underrated and undermarketed.
That could be definitely the case, and I also like that you really state that on LinkedIn, and I mean it's also for the connecting with you. It's a clear statement. That's the technology I'm in love with. I really like this approach. Although I would rather attribute such a fanboy thing to more marketing driven tools like Tableau or similar, because I think that's quite often that they have the stickers and everything on their laptops and they act like a fanboy. But nevertheless, I think there's once a quote from, I think, Carsten Bange saying, okay, you're also the voice of the TM1 community. And I think this is also very respectful saying that. But maybe you can shed some light into that. What did you actually do for giving something like, okay, you're the voice of a whole community?
I don't know if that maybe it's a bit much, but I've worked with TM1 for, like I said, like 10 years, and before I joined Deutsche Bahn, I was working as a consultant or for third-party developers for TM1. And when you're a business partner, you always kind of you hold back a bit, maybe a bit more with because you have a working relationship with IBM, and as a customer, and especially with such an employer like Deutsche Bahn, I can speak really open about the things I like and I dislike, and I think this honesty is something people enjoy, and I started posting stuff on LinkedIn about my work, and then that's people started commenting and liking it, and then I got followers, and now when I post stuff, I get a lot of interaction compared to 1.5 years ago, and so it kind of developed, and then I came in contact with people like you guys who invited me on your podcast before, and we talked about TM1, or people seem to recognize that on LinkedIn. It's mostly LinkedIn, and it just happened.
Very cool. Before we continue our talk about your love with TM1 and also your questions we prepared for you, maybe just a few words about, you mentioned that Deutsche Bahn a couple of times. In brief, what are you actually doing there?
I work as an in-house consultant, so I took a soft approach from consulting, from external consulting to a permanent position within a company. So I do in-house consulting. I do projects, TM1 projects for different companies of Deutsche Bahn, and besides that, we do some strategic projects for the whole of Deutsche Bahn. How we handle the TM1, how we want to move forward with TM1 as a whole group. Yeah, like developing standards for TM1 at Deutsche Bahn, and doing some community work like I do on LinkedIn. I do my colleagues as well do similar stuff internally. We have a TM1 community where we share knowledge, and I think we have like 150 TM1 admins at Deutsche Bahn, and we bring all of them together for a huge community. We have like 200 databases, more than 8,000 users.
Oh.
So we have our whole internal community that's developing. That's
when you're saying like 8,000 users. What departments don't use
Deutsche Bahn has like 250,000 people, employees. So 8,000 is not that much compared to smaller companies, maybe. But TM1 is used for all kinds of stuff. It's mostly, of course, it's finance driven, controlling. But HR is using it. We have some logistics departments using it. We have one of my colleagues is how to say it in English, doing the time delays of the
so you're doing
Berlin trains.
So you're doing the travel planning as well with TM1.
Not travel planning, not the travel planning, but they analyze the delays of the trains in Berlin.
Okay, so more like the reporting and
definitely. In this case, it's reporting, and we have like the Deutsche Bahn Cargo. They're using it to plan cargo trains and stuff like that, and we do risk management, obviously, and planning and reporting.
So more or less all the central services, reporting, finance, and central services stuff.
Yeah, mostly. And
you use it for reporting and planning as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have because it's used in a different parts of the group. We established kind of self-service environment where people can get their data ready for TM1, load them into their own TM1 databases, and have already pre-checked data, pre-stacked cost structures, cost center structures, and etc. Yeah.
So you're doing like more the standard, and you said this is approved, and if you change it, and you can do your changes if you want, but it's not approved from our side, right?
Yeah, that part is done by another department, but they're doing like that. It's like they are doing it like that. They provide a certain data set, and like, okay, you can use it, and you can of course change it and set your own standards, but then it's not supported by us anymore. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of okay. That's the trusted data you provide to
Mhm.
them, and it's also in TM1 where they did the analysis, or is it
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
they had additional, let's say, front end or more self-service oriented tools, or is it just kind of misinformation from my side that I would say, okay, is TM1 really appropriate self-service tool?
First of all, TM1 is self-service because TM1 classically, historically, comes in over. It's not a solution that gets deployed from the IT department, but mostly the finance department starts working with a smaller TM1 installation, and then it grows bigger and bigger and
Okay.
bigger and bigger, and maybe someday it's 8,000 users. But it's definitely from the mostly finance department driven. And that's why I say TM1 is self-service, and was self-service before self-service got cool. And it's still TM1 uses Excel as a basic front end, and there's other front ends as well, of course. But with Excel, a controller, a finance person can use the familiar tool Excel, just type in some formulas, and gets data from a database where it's stored securely, where there's security applied, where you have protection of the data is protected. You have logging. You have it's secured. It's trusted. It's the same single point of truth for all people using that kind of data, and you get it in your front end of choice. A weapon of choice for every finance department is Excel, to be honest.
Normally we do the 5 short questions, but we are so into the stuff. I would say we do the short questions afterwards, and I start with my first question, as we are already more or less into that. We already saw that you are a fanboy of TM1, and what's for me interesting, and you already answered the first part of my question, what makes it so special, but what would you recommend it for? Is there anything where you say, okay, this is good doing it in TM1, and there are maybe the borders, and what the second part of the question, how does it differ from other tools? Have you seen other tools, and can you compare, or is it just your the feeling that's the most best tool ever?
I think I've seen a few tools, and I still think TM1 is the best tool for most use cases. Maybe not the prettiest tool. You have to be honest. That of course tools like Tableau or Power BI are way prettier. But TM1 it just gets the job done. I have never encountered a problem so far where that I couldn't solve with TM1. Of course, it's not something like a SQL database. It's not a transactional database in the classical way where you have like lots and lots of rows. It's an analytical database. Yeah, the strength of TM1 is consolidation and spreading, like going up and down your hierarchies. That's the strength of TM1 because it can consolidate super fast. It can consolidate enormous amounts of data. I think the biggest database we have at Deutsche Bahn is like 1.5 terabyte. I know there are other installations out there in the world with 4 terabyte in memory. So if it's in memory, it's super fast. It consolidates from a lowest level to the highest level in milliseconds. And if you use it for planning applications, you can type in a value at the top, and it spreads down the whole hierarchy, and you have your planning done in seconds. So that's really the strength of TM1, and you can, of course, because it's multidimensional, you have like some people call it a pivot table on steroids. Yeah, because you can slice and dice in every corner. You can like have, if you really want to, you can have like 256 dimensions in a cube, and it can really handle large dimensions which can include billions of elements. And that's probably the strength of TM1, the flexibility compared with the scalability. And most other tools I've encountered so far are either not that flexible, like column-based databases. I think they're not that flexible because doing planning with them is really hard. Or we have tools which are also column-based databases, but are more front-end oriented, like Tableau or Power BI, which they all have problems with planning. They all have problems with opening up to other front ends. The strength of TM1 is you have a separation of the database layer and the application layer. You can have multiple front ends for it. You can either use Excel or web interface from IBM, or you can use third-party tools, or you can use it has a database REST API, and there are frameworks out there, for example, for Python, which you can use to extract data from TM1 and can do all stuff you can do with Python. You can write it in any other database. You can use it in a pandas data frame to analyze your data. You can do statistical analysis on that. You can use it to write data back into TM1. And thus, flexibility, scalability, and openness is something I have not seen in any other tool on the market. It's neither the fancy tools like Tableau, Power BI, Click. It's not tools like SAP. I know you guys are doing SAP months, but so I will not say more on that here. But
there will be an IBM month soon as well. So maybe
nice.
Yeah. We just got some discussions about that today. So yeah, it's not written in stone already, but I'm
looking
sure.
forward to that. If you guys need someone to ask some questions, I'm there.
Cool, perfect.
But you have, of course, Microsoft SQL Server. You have all this kind of the tools which can do certain things pretty well, but none of these I have seen so far can do this wide range of applications and problem solving you can do with TM1. So that's why I love TM1.
Yeah, definitely. We made the flexibility you mentioned, scalability. These are very interesting topics, and I was not aware of that. It was really originally a more or less business-driven tool. But of course, if you say, okay, business always likes Excel, and they have more or less the option to get a solid database or trusted database more or less into it, and all the ups and downs going through the hierarchies. I mean, of know that's things they are asking for. But concerning really, let's say, modern dashboarding, interactive, going through the traditional levels and stuff like that, is there also an approach within TM1? Or is it really, okay, they are offering what the usual business user is asking for, that's perfect, and all the flexibility and scalability you mentioned. But if we're really talking about, let's say, dashboarding, visual dashboarding, any insights you can give to that as well?
Yeah, sure. So, for example, there's IBM's has this web-based front end for TM1. It's called Planning Analytics Workspace, where you can do dashboarding. You can really do like widgets and stuff. There's a grid-based approach where you can put like key metrics there and tables and different charts, like waterfall charts, flow charts, and the bubble charts, all kinds of charts. You can have web-based. It works on mobile as well. And then you have, of course, you have the because you have the openness of TM1, you can also use third-party frontends like Applico UX from Cubewise, which can do nice dashboarding. You can use a tool like Excel Cube, which has EBCS charting capabilities built in, and it connects natively to TM1. You have tools like Vitivity's Mosaic, which allows for a nice dashboarding approach where you can really build whole applications really with a guided interface where user is guided through different reports, etc., to achieve his goal. Yeah.
What about workflows? So, like sending them to someone else, especially in the planning sector?
Yeah, sure. It's base capability. The TM1 could do workflows like for the last decade and more. You can, because you have built in a very detailed security concept in there, you can really go as far as you can give user the right to change a single cell, or you just read it or write on a cell, or just see one cell. Not, you have a table with like 40 cells, and you just do one single cell in the middle. You can deny access to this cell, so the user cannot see the value of this cell, and that's how deep it goes. So, and you can combine it with processes which are removing the access rights and granting access, and make approval workflows where one person puts in some data and then clicks on a button, and the next one cannot change the value but can approve it, can say, okay, it's okay, I checked it, or he rejects it and it goes back to the first one. That's essential for every planning application. And it's very
that's why you didn't manage it.
It's really flexible, and it's a lot of you have the possibility to use even features like sandboxes where you put in values, so you just see the values and can see how you changing some numbers, how that affects the overall revenue, for example. And it's not committed, it's not written into the database itself. It's stored separately until you commit it. But you can see what's happening there, and then you say, okay, it's okay, I will send it to the database, and then you start a workflow, and then your manager either approves or rejects your changes, and you can really you can get really complex about that if you want to.
Okay, so there are many use cases you described, really, from planning to guided dashboarding, also the ad hoc stuff with, okay, you can do everything you want more or less and address the data set within Excel and stuff like that. So yeah, many cases I would not expect actually if I thought about TM1. So maybe their marketing, they needed more of you, more of these fanboys really communicating and saying, okay, it's so great, but it's really interesting to get these insights from you. Yeah, the second question I had prepared is very close to that. The starting question we dived into it. So probably, Viktoria, just continue with number 3.
Maybe a question to be, what would you say changed when TM1 became part of Cognos? Would you say there was a lot of changes, good changes or bad changes, or?
Okay, now we are entering a minefield. But to be honest, I started working with TM1 like a bit more than 10 years ago, and Cognos acquired Applix in 2007, so a couple of years before I started working with TM1. So I cannot tell about how things were before. And Cognos got acquired by IBM soon afterwards. What I can see is that IBM has still not 100% figured out how to bring the Cognos world and the TM1 Applix world, bring it together, because I don't know that much about Cognos Analytics because I do mostly TM1 projects, and I know there is a strong customer base for Cognos Analytics as well. And both tools are for like almost 15 years, they coexist, and they have some points where they connect. I think you can use TM1 as a data source for Cognos, but Cognos is, on the other hand, it's not a multidimensional model, it's a relational model. So Cognos Analytics takes TM1 and just presses it flat, so it appears like just a big table. So that they still haven't brought them together, and I don't think at the moment they are trying, because they rebranded TM1 as Planning Analytics. It's not called IBM Cognos TM1 anymore, so maybe they're moving away from bringing those two together right now. And it's from what I've heard, what I've learned is there are good and bad parts about such an acquisition, because when TM1 got acquired by IBM in the end, it opened up in a whole new market for the TM1 database. But on the other hand, they are now part of the IBM organization, and that just naturally, because it's a big organization, I should know, I work for a really big one, it slows certain things down just because the organization is so big. Applix was a rather small company where they could move faster. But in IBM, they have probably more resources for marketing, for other stuff. But it makes things a bit slower, I think. And maybe sometimes it gets lost in the whole array of products IBM is offering.
I think you pointed out something really good or important, is that they have two tools which can do in some ways the same things, and that really makes it, when you are not so into, I see it at clients or stuff, if you don't so you are not into, you say, what can do this tool and this tool, and why do they have two? And I think that's I'm not sure if it's a good way even for marketing and for positioning, and but I know as well that you have two different communities, and I think it's and people who like their tools, and maybe it's not worth the pain to put them together.
Yeah, I think they have different user groups. I think Cognos Analytics is more like it's more focused on analyzing data. It's more gets more in the same direction as Tableau or Power BI, with different. You can bring all kinds of different data sources in it and then analyze it. And TM1 is just maybe not as streamlined because of the flexibility. You can do more stuff with it, but in the beginning it takes maybe a bit longer to get there, because it's not so narrowed down. It's good and bad at the same time.
And you at Deutsche Bahn, you're going both streams from IBM, or are you primarily focusing on the TM1?
That's a really tricky question, because I think every piece of software on this planet
fair.
somewhere in Deutsche Bahn. But from what I've known, we are definitely a really strong TM1 customer, and I have not encountered Cognos Analytics so far. That doesn't mean it does not exist at Deutsche Bahn, but I haven't encountered it so far. And at least I work at DB Systel, and there we have teams for the different tools, and I have not encountered a Cognos Analytics team. I know one of our neighboring teams is a Tableau team, and then we have a Power BI team nearby, ClickView or ClickSense, and I have not encountered a Cognos Analytics team. That's all I can say about that. But probably it's somewhere in there.
Okay, so good. Thanks. Good question to be. Coming to the third question, you as far as working in distributed teams is concerned, you were way ahead of time, because I read something back in 2015. You wrote that about collaborative digital working. Could you explain a little bit more about that, and how you came on this idea already in 2015, when people are starting talking about that now in 2020, 21?
You digged up my old blog post?
Yes, I did. I did my homework before.
The internet never forgets. I have to go a bit more back, because when I first started working full-time, I started working at Cubeware. Maybe if you're familiar with the BI market in Germany, you know Cubeware. And there in 2014, some colleagues of mine and we decided to leave the company and start our own software company. We founded our startup Tableaunautics, and we said, okay, we want to do a really cool new modern front end for TM1. Basically, we wanted to start with TM1 and maybe later on stretch out to other databases. And it was a pretty cool time because we did a lot of cool stuff, and it's always sometimes nowadays I see when other tools like Workspace, IBM Workspace, or other tools implemented things like a grid-based approach for designing a dashboard. We did this in 2014. It's pretty cool. And we were based in Berlin and in Rosenheim and in Frankfurt and in Darmstadt. So we were distributed all over Germany. So we had to work remotely from the beginning, and of course we had no money for offices, so we had to work remotely and had to figure that out because in 2014 it was not as common as it is today, obviously, and we had no tools like Teams, or we were early adopters of Slack. I think we started using Slack in August 2014 or November 2014, and we had to figure out how all these things. We had cloud-based servers, and we worked from home, and we had to. But even back then, we already figured out, okay, working remotely all the time, it's not working. It's not beneficial for the team. So we had to have a meeting, in-person meeting once a month. It was back then. It was a really cool happening because we met in Rosenheim. We stayed in a hotel, and we worked all day in the office, and then in the afternoon we went to a bar and grabbed some food, and then the next day we started working again. It was a pretty awesome time. And of course, back then most of us had no kids, so it was easier.
But would you do it again, or would you say it's good, or are you now you're at Deutsche Bahn, so I guess you're most of the time in the office, or is it not like this in Deutsche Bahn?
No,
and,
I've never seen the office. I started working here in April 2020, and I started working on on March 31st. Someone delivered my laptop. And on April 1st, I started working remotely at Deutsche Bahn. I was once in the office to get my new laptop.
Okay. And would you say remote work changed then back to 2014? You already said so. Tools changed. Possibilities, but the feeling. Can you connect now better or not as good as the time before?
It's from my personal point of view, it's completely different because back then we were a startup. We were different work ethics. So we work differently, no matter what. It doesn't matter if we were in the office or working remotely. And today it's changed because it's a new normal. It's not like, oh, you're working from home. It's okay, and everybody is working from home, and so back then for us it did not happen that often because as I said, we had mostly no kids. But nowadays it's completely normal. Kids running around in video conferences and calls with customers, with potential customers. You have a kid sitting on your lap, and I think that's a pretty cool development. That having kids around is okay. And back then that was definitely not the case. As I said, we didn't encounter that much, but that was different. And it's also the working hours changed. The flexibility we have by working from home, that changed. Now it's okay to like do your dishes during the day and maybe work a bit in the evening. It's complete. It's a new normal, and having and saying I cannot, I can't come to the meeting. I have to pick up my kids, or you're doing your meetings on a playground, all that stuff. That's definitely something that just, at least from my experience, it's just totally okay with everyone. I had a couple of weeks ago, I had a meeting with some people higher up in the hierarchy at Deutsche Bahn, and I said, sorry, my daughter is sick at home, and I have to watch out for her. And they were like, yeah, no worries. It's the manager said, yeah, my two kids are in quarantine from school. They're running around here for the last almost 2 weeks, so no worries. It's just a new normal. It's okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, maybe you touched that already a bit, and I'm not willing to play the team you mentioned in your startup and the team today, but I also found one post on LinkedIn where you said, well, I'm working in the best team ever. But yeah, how did you manage to create such a team spirit at Deutsche Bahn? What are your success factors, or maybe what was missing in the other teams you were working for?
What was missing is maybe we were all very young, at the end, late 20s, early 30s. Most of us were like in this age range, and that some things you can handle better with experience, to put it that way. And my colleagues at Deutsche Bahn, our team is it's just the coolest team I've worked with so far, because, as you know, I like TM1, and all of my colleagues they like TM1 as well. So this is a team of 10 people, 10, 12 people. Depends on how you count. And they all love TM1. So with just this small group of people who love working with TM1 and get paid for doing it every day. So that creates kind of a cool spirit. Then you have, I would say, I think Deutsche Bahn is a pretty cool employer, because we have an agile organization, at least at DB Systel, our company, agile organization where we have no hierarchies anymore, and are responsible for our success as a team. So we work together to achieve a goal. We have no manager telling us you have to do this or that. We as a team decide what we want to do, how we want to develop as a team, which technologies we want to push, how we want to do our marketing, how and if and how we do projects we are offered. And that's I think that creates a nice working environment. It makes it makes I lost my
It creates the perfect ecosystem for you. Your heart is beating for TM1. You have the support from your team, and the all other things around, like the soft factors are also pushing you in the right direction.
We have the freedom. We have the freedom to do things like this. There's at Deutsche Bahn we have processes for everything, and we have guidelines, but they are really open. So I don't have to get approval to go to this podcast and talk about my work.
And that's great. I think that's also quite impressive, because I have some organizations that say, okay, we have to review that from corporate communication, and that took, I don't know, 3 months or something like that, or even it's not possible that they get an acknowledgement for being within the podcast. So, and especially at that size of Deutsche Bahn, I think this is really, really impressive. And
there are certain things I'm not allowed to talk about, but that's a very small, and let's say security related stuff, obviously, but otherwise I can talk about our work with TM1. I can talk about our organization. I can talk about how we work. and things like that. And for example, the TM1 community we created at Deutsche Bahn. It's something we just, it's a bottom-up approach where we decided we want to do something like this, and we just created a Teams channel, invited people, and I think I have to quickly check downstairs. I'm sorry.
Ein paar Sekunden später.
Okay, then finally our fifth question.
Our fifth question. So coming back to the fifth question, you have worked as a lecturer at various universities. This often involves more work than fame. Why do you do that?
Because it's fun. It just happened. I liked. I was once approached by a friend of mine who's a professor at a university, and I said, "Yeah, I can try." Just started with a single presentation, and then it evolved into more of that, and now I do it sometimes, even always when I can fit it in my schedule. And I think it's always it helps me. I always try to do lectures on topics I don't know that much about and use it as an opportunity for me to learn more about it. So stuff I can talk about, obviously, but things where I want to deepen my knowledge and use this stuff as a way for me to deepen my knowledge on certain topics. So, for example, right now I do a lecture on SAP.
Okay, really interesting.
So expanding your influencing career. I mean, TM1 Fanboy.
I don't see this happening, but I want to learn more about, for example, other products or other things, and that's those lectures are a great way of doing that.
Yeah, I think it's just an occasion that you have to do something for that. There's a specific date, you prepare it, and yeah, that's definitely cool to expand your knowledge because of that specific situation. It's not we should do this or that, or just get some insights into that. There's a specific occasion, and that's why I like that as well. Yeah, well, we went through five interesting questions. Hopefully, we were able to ask those good questions.
Don't forget my short question.
Yeah, you can of course ask that at the end.
Just five short questions so that people get to know you a little bit better as in person, and then afterwards you have your final words. We don't forget that.
Okay.
But just five short questions. So I'm sure it's easy for you. Popcorn, sweet or salty?
Salty.
Wine or beer?
Wine, definitely wine.
When you go on holidays, car, train, or plane?
Because of my employer, I must say train.
Good one. Winter or summer?
Oh, tricky one. Bit of both, but more winter.
Okay. Sports or art?
Ooh. I want to say sports, but I should definitely do more sports.
So it's more the video sport, right?
Maybe something like this, yeah.
Okay, so that's already you already mentioned to answer all the five questions, so but not too hard, but really interesting. So I would say wine as well and salty. So most of the things you say, but honestly, train for holidays. I try to be green, and we have two locations for business in Munich and in Oldenburg, and I go there by train, but. Thinking about going with family. I did it really often when the kids were small with the family departments in the train. I really like that one. But now kids are not so staying cool there. So For
But
small.
on the other hand, in a train they can run around, and on a car you can't have them running around.
Yeah, that's true. But our kids really love cars. So 15 hours in car, no problem. Train 3 hours, cool. Yeah, we want to go train, and then it unfortunately stops. But maybe it will change again. So
Maybe.
Okay, well then finally we can only say thank you very much that you a second time took your time asking our questions, doing everything for creating a great atmosphere of pushing TM1 forward, doing your influencing story. That's really, really nice. I'm looking forward to another session with you. Thanks a lot again, and as Viktoria said, and it's a good old tradition that the last words belong to you. We say thank you, and see you soon, hopefully.
bye.
Yeah, and I can only repeat that. And thank you guys for having me. It was pretty cool. It was completely different from what I expected, so that was cool. And I love your podcast, and thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to BI or Die, a podcast by Reporting Impulse. If you enjoy our content, please press the like button and subscribe to our podcast so you do not miss another episode. See you next time.